please pay attention to this video because it applies to you. Yeah, you too. Every single one of you. Week 22 is actually the fourth week of our new semester, the fourth week of MacLab Media, and playing the angles has to do with Isometric Art Week, but it also has to do with how you negotiate your place in MacLab Media. Now, some of you really want creative freedom, and you're fighting me on producing goods. Creative freedom is earned. It's an earned privilege, and it's not a right. Now, I have provided ways for you to earn creative freedom here in the Loyo CF Guide. If you don't remember this, you might check this out, but not until you hear me out in this video. Now, early on, I encouraged you at the birth of the idea tree. If you remember that initial post, I was woken up with this idea that seamless patterns were a way for you to break in and easily create goods for MacLab Media, because creating goods is one of the shortcuts to creative freedom, or music in the MacLab, or buying your homework pass. The perks are earned. And you can either do it through the long slog of just working day in and day out, and week 12 is when the first perk would occur, but it would only occur for those of you who had been working diligently from week 19 on, from week 1 of the second semester on. Do you get that? Now, Isometric Art Week. No matter what you're doing, this might be a key to unlocking some of that creative freedom. So let's jump over to Illustrator. And these are patterns. These are some of the patterns I've played with over the last 2 days. Yeah, I've been creating these. So what do we have here? I've selected, this is a layer with a rectangle on it that I'm filling with patterns, and these are my experiments. Okay? And the one thing these experiments have in common is they were all created via the grid I gave you yesterday. Some of these work, some of these don't. There's one that should look familiar. Okay, but I want to click through these because there's one in particular I want to show you. This kind of lit off an idea. I didn't like it, but I wondered, what can we do with this? How can we play around and make something happen? Then when I got to this point, I said, hey, let's just focus on one thing. Now from here on out, you might notice a shape right here. And this shape is the only one used to create all the rest of these patterns. So all of these are just variations using the Pattern Maker tool in Illustrator. So how were these achieved? I will take you through the process in the idea tree. And let me jump there after we work through these. Yeah, this is all still that same shape. You can see it right here, right? That's that shape. And all of these variations, including these really strange ones at the end, they're all made via the Pattern Maker. And if I double click, I'll just give you a sneak peek here. Here's where the settings are. Now, like I said, I will go through and explain this back out on the idea tree. Now hang in there. Now remember this? Remember the idea of seamless patterns. And you have a job in here, but I have a job too. And mine is to lead by example. Now these videos here, this pattern primer, I make you guys promises and I try to follow through with them. This is me trying to figure out how to do this. And if you watch these, you know that This was achieved through trial and error. When I did the research, if you haven't done these up here, don't do them. This is trial and error. This is, well, it works, but it doesn't work as well as it could. This is how everything I just showed you in Illustrator was made via this hex grid. Oh yeah, I didn't show you one other thing back in Illustrator. I've got two panels open. This is where I'm testing the patterns right here. And this is where I'm creating the shapes. And these shapes are all based on this hex grid. And this hex grid I provide for you. Look, there's the download. You don't have to make it. Here's a little quick primer on how to use it. And here's Matt's video that takes you in deeper. So, what's the punchline of all this? Do you want creative freedom? Well, your key is to produce goods. How are you doing so far in week 4? Have you produced anything worthwhile? If you're on track and you believe you are, then I may be stopping by and asking, what's your goal here? What are you trying to achieve? And if it doesn't seem as if it's attainable, it's my job to redirect you. And I'm telling you right now, creating these patterns, and I'm not saying just these shapes. This is virtually unlimited isometric art. I'm just beginning with some simple primitive shapes just to test things out. And I'm not playing around with color yet. All these blue, this red is just, hey, this is made up of individual squares. It's my little cheat sheet. And I just drug pieces of this out to make this. And if you recall, that was how this pattern came to be. That little piece is sitting right here down at the bottom because this didn't fit right, so I tagged that little piece on right here. So then everything snugged up and it made this really cool pattern. Now, so your call, your choice is, how am I going to use my time effectively in here? And how, if this is your goal, how am I going to earn creative freedom? You want 20% time? You want to earn multiples of 20% time? Well, produce goods. All right, that's a long video, but it needed to be said. So when I come and I ask you, what are you trying to achieve? I'm not picking on you. I'm trying to help you become more productive.